Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen, flag officers, Chief of Staff of Sri Lankan Navy, Excellencies, naval officers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Foremost, I thank the Chief of Sri Lankan Navy for inviting me here and giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk heart to heart. In fact, I've been given the most difficult part of the proposition that we are discussing. The challenge to discuss challenges is a challenge in itself. And I like to take challenge by the horns. In the process, you get bleeded, you look dirty, but that's how you have to deal with the issues to establish peace, order, stability, and prosperity. Because I'll be doing great injustice if I don't talk what I feel. Whatever I'm going to talk is my personal opinion, not attributable to anybody. But the dialogue is the challenge. And I'm undertaking that challenge as I'm talking to you. Because if we can be sincere and candid in the dialogue, we will find the way to resolve the issues. And that's what the world needs today. Now, in the topic, there are two things which are important to understand. Strategic, everybody has got his own interpretation of a strategic. Partnership. Everybody thinks, the wife thinks partnership differently than the husband. So, partnership is very debatable. The original idea put forward by Admiral Molan was global maritime partnership. Now, from global, it has become like-minded nations. It can be regional, it can be global, but if groups of like-minded nations are going to make strategic partnerships, what the world is likely to see? I leave it to you to ponder. So I think I'm going to emphasize and talk from the point of view of global or regional maritime partnerships. And I want to tell you a story about partnerships. There was a jackal and a camel. They decided to cross a canal and go to the fields, the greener pastures, to have better food opportunities. So they became partners. They traveled together. The camel took the jackal on the other side. And the jackal's part of the partnership was to keep the camel alert about the farmers. But instead of doing that, the jackal started howling. The farmers came and they beat the camel. So they had to escape. They escaped together. When they reached in the middle of the canal, the camel started taking dips. So jackal shouted, "You are going to kill me." He said, "This is my habit. Because if it is your habit to, howl after eating, it is my habit to take dips in the water after eating or after beating." So, the contract of the partnership has to be very, very clear. For a partnership to survive, we have to have first the common goal. And I think it is pretty evident here, everybody has talked about this freedom of navigation. And more or less, we have talked about security and safety at sea. Very good. A good rallying point, the whole world can unite on this. But when we get into the details, we have to have, for a cooperation or partnership, a legal framework. That's the legal framework. It is there, but some people are not signatory. Some people have different representation, thinking about the UNCLOS. They don't fully abide by it. So how are we going to create consensus? Dialogue. And that's what we are doing here, dialogue. Some of the challenges I will talk about is, the real challenge is conflict on land and sea, which is going to erode and make threats at sea, which is not affordable by the international community. Although I am an optimist, I think the international system, particularly the trade and technology, is forcing us to remain peaceful and remain integrated. So we have to work together. And in Pakistan, we partner with everybody and anybody. We are a very close partner of United States Navy. And I think United States Navy has done a wonderful job since 1945, ensuring freedom of navigation. And, because of the work of United States Navy, there is so phenomenal trade today in the world. But they are also responsible for many wars. You choose a partner who is involved in too many wars, what happens to you? You choose a partner who is interested in trade, what happens to you? Now, these are some of the things that we need to think. We are partnered with PLA Navy. We even partner with Indian Navy. We have no problem. We just conducted an ASW war game, very successful, very amicably. So we can partner with anybody. Our assertion is that issues can be resolved by talking, no matter what they are. But if we don't talk, we'll go nowhere. And that's the status quo. That's dangerous. That is disadvantageous. So we have to resolve the conflicts on land, at sea. Even the conflict started by ISIS will sooner or later have ramifications at sea as well. We have to work together. We are ready to, and we have worked with so many nations on terrorism. We are the frontline nation fighting terrorism. We have suffered maximum casualties. And we do it boldly. Like I told you, we hold the bull by the horns. And we don't shy away. So that's what is, to me, strategic and partnership. Maritime space management. More and more nations are getting into submarines. Underwater world is becoming complex. And we have to abide by UNCLOS. Different interpretations of UNCLOS, if there are, we have to talk, we have to de-conflict. Because this can have miscalculations. Because when you have the media like we have today, particularly in Pakistan and India, and I will blame my media more than the media of our friends, who blow the issues out of proportion, then the captains at sea can get influenced. When we put a submarine underwater, we have to give the submarine flexibility. Everybody does it. So miscalculations, adventure can result into, very bad international situation. We want peace. We want international trade to be fully protected. And that's why I emphasize that maritime space management is very important. Piracy. Pakistan Navy is working with United States Navy in piracy. We command both. At the moment, we are commanding 151 and 150 in CMF. So this is our contribution, and much more. Similarly, it goes for smuggling, because these are small issues for me. So I'm not discussing it, I'm not blowing it out of proportion. This is something I don't consider work. Search and rescue. Again, what my Japanese friend has said. I think Japan plays a very important role in humanitarian assistance and search and rescue. Search and rescue is an area where the capacities of even the frontline navies is very limited. And we have seen that. We have seen that in case of Malaysian Air, aircraft was lost. And this is an area where, we have to sit together, we have to find ways to have search and rescue frameworks made, interoperability, and all that is very important. The same goes for humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. So what should be our strategy? Confidence building. And I'm thankful to Sri Lanka to have organized this dialogue. This is the first step in confidence building. Dialogue, talk, and talk more, and understand, and talk sincerely. Transparency. We should be open. I have talked very openly. I have not held back anything, and I would like that everybody talks very openly, not talking something else, reality is something else. Cooperation. For cooperation, we need frameworks, common operating procedures, and interoperability. That costs. Interoperability is very expensive. Very, very expensive. Because we work with so many navies, so we know. But I think all of us should chip in. We should not lump it on one nation to develop the interoperability. I'm with Trump. President Trump would be. Everybody should chip in. Conflict prevention. Restraint. Exercise restraint. We see always the humorous side of things. When the things are happening, they're too dirty. We see the humorous side of it. And you can always convert a challenge into opportunity. And that you can do when you restrain and when you see the other side of the picture. Then the same thing, it starts to look very nice. I'll not say funny, but you can take benefit out of it. Negotiations. Again, dialogue leads to negotiation, but in the negotiations you have a purpose. And it has to be focused, and it should be continued in order to resolve the issues and prevent conflicts. Conflict resolution is a step further, from conflict prevention, and that requires political will, mutual trust. So, little bit about Pakistan. What is our policy for partnership? We want to invest in confidence building measures in maritime domain. We have and we will further make bilateral and multilateral cooperations for security of slugs and maintenance of good order at sea. There are no exclusion. We include everybody. Although we have been excluded in IORA. And some of you who read must be knowing why. Development of maritime sector. The basic purpose is development, prosperity, trade, happiness of humanity. So that is not possible unless and until we are going to develop the maritime sector. Sri Lanka is on that path, and so many other Indian Ocean nations. And we also want to be with them in steps. Contribute fully to humanitarian and disaster relief, and Pakistan Navy has done a lot and will continue to do it. Thank you for listening to me. If my talk has hurt anybody, I sincerely apologize. But I have been frank and I have been upfront, and I would love to take questions from you. I thank you.